So can anybody click on it, or does it have to be by invite?
No, this is applied to every social media platform, basically. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Zoom.
Okay. So here's the important part as we get going. Hey everybody, we're going live here in just a little bit. John Laesch of the Fireside Chat. It's very cold outside, approaching sub-zero temperatures this weekend. And what an appropriate time to talk about homelessness. If you're homeless and don't have shelter, this is the time of year that could be life-threatening. So, got two exciting guests with us tonight in white, Maria Jurado and Dr. Amanda Goldman are going to be joining us. I was just about to show them the most exciting part of the Fireside Chat. Is the yep, exactly. Anyway, it's not a real fireside. It's not a real fire. It's handles.
Okay, well, okay.
Oh my goodness. I need you one of these.
And anyway, we're going to be talking about an important issue. Aurora, during the pandemic, the first thing that they did is kick all the homeless people out of Hesed House, and it was thought of as a life-saving measure. And they gave them tents, and they were living in tent cities. And as winter approached, they built a temporary shelter, big tent. And we've heard concerns about it, but the reality is it's better than nothing. And when I was campaigning, I ran into Maria, and she had, so this is an idea that comes from Aurora and comes from the residents, and the democracy people like you have an opportunity to share this idea. I think it's brilliant because we did a lot of research into it after we first talked. And the idea is how do we use tiny homes to better house people. So there's some controversy out there which we'll talk about. Another person who's been a neighbor of mine since I moved here in 2008, Dr. Amanda Goldman, who is a counselor, and a lot of your clientele here in 60505 are from the homeless community,
Yes.
Low-income people. So that's who our guests are tonight. And what we want people to do is feel free to chime in with questions.
We want them to give a little background info on themselves.
I'm going to introduce them. I'm just going over. So if you want to write questions into the chat, whether you're on any of our platforms, Rachel and Philip are here to help us navigate this. But if you're on Zoom or Twitter or Facebook and you want to write a question into the chat, you can write it for any of us. We'll be happy to answer those questions. I guess we don't have to stay limited to the topic of homelessness, but I think we roll the dice and you're going to go first. So Amanda's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she does here in Aurora. And it doesn't have to stick just to homelessness. I know you've been involved in a number of things. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Thank you for having me. I am a psychotherapist. I'm a PhD LCPC in private practice in East Aurora. I've been practicing counseling for about 20 years and have been in private practice for about 15 years, and specifically on the east side for 8 years. So I have a very large counseling practice on the corner of Lincoln Avenue and Clark Street that nobody knows about. People tell me every day, I didn't know you were here, even though hundreds of people come to us every day. And I would say about a fourth of my caseload is devoted to the psychotherapy of homeless people, specifically with psychotic mental illness, because there's a kind of a big intersect there. So I'm happy to talk about any of that and all of the above. Cool. Thanks for having me.
And then Maria, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today. And we'll talk about the tiny homes in a bit.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm a born native. Went to East Aurora High School. Graduated in 2009. I am not. Sorry, this is like my first time doing some sort of interview because of this, so excuse me if I'm nervous about that. But I have been somewhat involved within my community, and I have not been heavily involved as the way I would like to. But I am out there trying to promote for various things, and one of them is homelessness coming from somebody who has faced homelessness a couple of times in her young adult life, I know the seriousness and how crucial it is to try to find a way to tackle the situation of the homelessness. There are a lot of programs, a lot of people out there who do wonderful things, and I'm not here to knock their work and what they've done so far with the community. It's just, I feel like we should be doing a lot more than just doing the same old routine that we've been doing for the longest time. And from somebody, like I said, who has experienced it, for being a young woman, a young Latina, of a minority, of descent and whatnot, it was very hard to get through those trials and tribulations and try to feel and try not to let my mental health take over the situation at hand. You know, when you're dealing with certain things at the moment, you're not thinking about the ahead. You're just thinking about the now and what's going on, and you become very overwhelmed, and there's a lot of key factors that play into this. And you know, I just want to talk with my experience to other people who are experiencing this for a variety of reasons of why they're experiencing homelessness, especially to the young crowds out there who are dealing with the same thing and who don't have that support from their families like the way I did. You know, there are a lot of people out there who tend to be the black sheep of the family. Everybody knows that there is at least one black sheep in someone's family. And if you're not it, consider yourself lucky. Because when you are the black sheep, it is hard. It is hard to feel your acceptance. It is hard to feel as if there's any hope for you at all. It is hard to feel as if you are even worthy of anything, because you're thinking, if God really loved you, He would not be putting you through these situations. And you know, there are time and time again that whenever I go through situations and stuff, I fear going back to the same old routine or the same old square one that I've been to before. And I always go to the fact of, you know, God doesn't love me, but He does. And that's the thing, you always have to rework your mind back to that, because if you continue thinking all this negative thoughts and everything, nothing but negative stuff is going to happen. You're going to continue to suffer. You're going to continue to suffer. You're going to continue to never exceed to the next level of your life.
Okay.
And that's
so we got two guests on, and I want to also mention, if the people of Aurora elect me as mayor, it just won't be these two that'll be contributing to this discussion of how we deal with homelessness. I see Arlissa Dockery is on the call with ECHO. We would definitely include the executive director of Hesed House and other people in the community and people from the faith-based community to address this question as we look about these issues. But you guys are here tonight, and I think we're going to have a great discussion. So
we do have a question on Zoom.
We've already got a question.
Kate, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Mary Ann has a question, or Marjorie, sorry. Margie has a question. You want to go ahead and ask it, Margie?
Unmute. I was wondering, how can we have a more coordinated mental health program here in Aurora? We have so many nonprofits that are trying to do this, and the last thing a person needing mental health can have is being shuffled from one place, go here, go there, and then their therapy is inconsistent. How can we coordinate that better here?
Yeah, I think that, I don't have a good answer for that question, because I feel the same frustration, and I know that my clients feel the same frustration. I think that the soapbox that I continually return to, Margie, and you've heard me say this before, is that I think it's really incumbent upon individual providers to invest in their communities. So we can sort of talk all day about funding and government funding and all different types of funding and emphasis and awareness, but at the end of the day, anybody can do what I'm doing. There's no prohibition for any of my colleagues who have a master's degree or higher to do what I'm doing. There's nothing to stop somebody from setting up shop on the east side, from setting up shop downtown, or in any under-resourced community. And you would have to ask them individually why they don't do that. I have trained in my career, I have trained literally hundreds of students, interns, and therapists, and they get their degree, and they go off to other communities. For example, and I don't want to call out Naperville specifically, but I do know the data. Naperville has 200 therapists per square mile. 60505 has me. So that's my sort of answer. It's not a good general answer, but I know that it's frustrating for my clients. They'll come and they'll work with an intern or a case management trainee or someone other than myself because I can't work with everyone. And when that person is done with their training, they disappear. With the exception of a handful of really dedicated individuals who have, stuck with my practice or stayed in the community. There are other providers in the neighborhood who don't take Medicaid. What's the point? If you can't sort of be accessible to everyone, you've already sort of created, a class system in the provision of services. So I don't have an answer other than that I really wish that people would invest in their communities and not leave them and create like a resource stacking.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
HESIT has counselors too, right? And how do you coordinate with them?
Yes, and those counselors are wonderful, and they're from community mental health centers, with the exception there is one private practitioner over there, and she's great, but she's one person. So
one person serving hundreds, and then sort of people come.
And there's also counselors from AID and from different other community mental health agencies, which again is wonderful, and they are wonderful. But their funding structure also looks different. So when you go to a community mental health agency, you are assigned a counselor. The pay is not great. The turnover can be high. I'm talking about private practice. So I'm talking about getting the same high caliber service that you would get if you went to Naperville as a wealthy person with all the choices in the world. The people in our community deserve those same choices.
Okay, we have
another question.
Yeah.
a couple more questions. Kate, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you.
Yeah, Mary Ann, do you want to ask your question?
Okay, no, I was just for Dr. Goldman. Hi. What is the biggest problem among your patients that you're seeing with COVID? And how can local government help on any level?
Yeah, the biggest problem that I have seen with my patients during COVID is that so many resources, at least temporarily, either shut down completely or restricted out of necessity. Again, like Tent City was something that happened out of necessity for social distancing. But during COVID, a lot of clothes closets weren't open or were open less. A lot of food banks, soup kitchens were not open or they were open less. A lot of transportation was cut. And so my clients who had, previously had a pretty good network going, they had some places to stay, they had some places to get food, to get clothing, for a while weren't able to get those things. And so we ended up creating a thrift store. I mean, thanks to the talented 10th and our state rep, we were able to get some food into the office for people. So people who had previously just been coming for counseling were now coming for counseling, food, clothing, toiletries, transportation. Thankfully my nonprofit board approved me a transportation budget. So we have bus passes and we have a cab guy. So things like that I think were the hardest, where the mental health needs were really superseded by survival needs.
Okay, then we had another one from Abigail.
Yeah, another question from Abigail. Do you want to ask it, Abigail?
You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Oh, I can't hear her.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I asked the question after that as well. I was just thinking, as a therapist in private practice, I'm an LCPC.
Yeah.
I can't
me too.
accept Medicaid.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. Come talk to me. I will hook you up.
I would love to do that. I've done,
Yes.
because I've done pro bono work, but
Yeah.
I've taken on way more pro bono cases.
I'm
since
sure you
COVID.
have. Yeah. No, you
And-
definitely can. Yeah. And I hear this from so many LCPCs. They're like, oh, I want to, but I can't. I promise you can.
I would love
and
to.
Yeah, so please come talk to me, because I don't know who sort of where this this message is coming from, but I know a lot of people have been told that. So definitely.
And I practice out of Aurora, so.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I
Do you
will
have
help
any
you.
more questions, Abigail? Sorry.
Yeah, just I wondered what more mental health workers can do to address this problem
Yeah.
of homelessness and these issues. What more can we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think just what you said, like, I feel like everybody should take a certain, like, you're doing pro bono, and God bless you for doing that, because most of us don't, as you probably know from talking to colleagues. And, any pro bono, low fee you can do, sign up to take Medicaid, I will help you. And, I would say, like, if you can take an intern, take an intern. Because they can provide pro bono services under your supervision, and you're also sort of training them to give back. I think so many of us don't take interns. We think, oh, it's so much work, or what would they do, or something like that. But they can take a whole caseload.
That's true.
Under your supervision. I think
I haven't even thought of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I have so many. You can have some of my. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So there was also a comment on Facebook that Natalie Bianchi said,
Natalie!
she did say, hi, Amanda,
Hi.
thank you for all you do in our community.
Oh my gosh.
And then she also did say that the talented 10th social services will be providing mental health services to those who receive Medicaid very soon.
Fantastic.
And then we have a question on here. Tam O'Connell asked, is there a plan in place for temp tiny home housing?
Okay.
So, Lisa,
I was just gonna tell Maria we wanted to shift back to the tiny homes.
Mhm.
I actually helped Tam and Mike build a. They don't have. You guys don't have a tiny home, Tam, but you have a small footprint, and then they have 2 Connex boxes on their property, I think, and one of them is her art room. But their family and I have talked back and forth about the idea of using Connex boxes as temporary living spaces and tiny homes. But tell us why, from your perspective, why this would matter versus sleeping in your car, or sleeping on a bridge, or sleeping in a big group setting like Tess said. What do you see as being an advantage?
I think this would be of a greater advantage because, first off, Passive house in a place like that is supposed to be a temporary solution. It's not supposed to be meant for a permanent residency. That's why they need to be able to service more than just the regulars that come in there. It's not a restaurant. You don't go there every single time just to be served and stuff like that. You need to eventually venture out to other locations or whatnot, but unfortunately Aurora doesn't have that. It's been said that Passive House is the largest homeless shelter in the region, I believe they said something like that, or the area.
Outside of Chicago.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, it's not, it is sad in a way, but it's just like I said, I'm not knocking all the other people who have worked their hardest to service the homeless community. They've done an outstanding job, and I applaud them, and I'm not here to knock their game, but we need to find something else other than the boo-boo effect. We need to stop sweeping the dirt under the rug and actually get rid of it from the inside of the home. As a young person who experiences homelessness in her early 20s, mid 20s and whatnot, it was a scary experience to deal with what was going on. I had my car, so I wasn't completely totally on the streets. So I had my car, and I was very fortunate to have some sort of shelter. However, when people see that you have some sort of shelter, it's a survival of the fittest out there. And if you're a young woman like I was, it's a terrifying experience to have. I had somebody trying to break into my car for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe they wanted to have the shelter. Maybe they were mentally incapacitated. Maybe they were not under medication, or maybe they took way too many drugs. I don't know what the situation was, but they really wanted to get inside and have shelter, and I was just too scared to allow anybody to be near me because I'm a woman and I'm young. So why am I gonna deal with this? So I had to literally hightail it out there with the little gas I had in my car. I hightailed out of where I was at to go seek shelter and comfort somewhere else. And to do that, it is tiresome because at the time I didn't have kids. I was just me and my cat. That's it. Me and my beautiful cat, who is still alive today and is a big old companion and just my big support pal. So, but he and I have gone through it all, and it's just.
So tell me more about what your vision is with these tiny homes. One, I hear what you're saying, that you'll feel safer there, right?
Yes.
You're in your own place, and especially now, God forbid, you got a young child, you wouldn't want to put them into a population maybe that with a tiny home would be built. I have like my own ideas. I've read a lot about this since you and I last talked, but what's your vision? Because I think you were even talking about community food and local food, and people that lived in that little homeless community might be able to, grow their own food. And additionally, it almost sounds like what you're talking about is a little bit of transitional living, right?
Yes.
So some of the places like Austin, Texas, they have this tiny home village and they pay like $300 a month. So there's like some rent attached to it, which I'm not sure how that works. But let me hear what you were thinking for Aurora.
I was thinking something like that, kind of like with the food stamp program app. They now have new requirements where if you can't work, then you can do community service hours. So if you can't afford some sort of rental thing, at least give back to your community, pay it forward. Do something with, volunteering at the various food shelter places like Marie Wilkins or the Aurora Food Pantry and whatnot. There's other places you could be able to do community service at. Big brothers, big sisters, something like that. Put in your work into the community as the community has done for you, basically. Pay it forward. If you can't go to work because of a medical issue or because you just can't, there's a reason why, and I'm not.
Disability of it.
Yeah, something, I understand that, but if you can't work, at least pay it back by community service and stuff, and, at least it be some way it's paid back. And yes, I think of it as, a transition center from Hesed House. Like I said, Hesed House is supposed to be a temporary solution. It's supposed to be only like a few months or whatnot. It's supposed to help people get back on their feet. But it seems like there's a lot of regulars that go there. And, as I was speaking to the
chronic homelessness, I think is what you call it.
Chronic homelessness, okay. Well, they got so attached to that type of living, so they're used to it. So those are the people that we already know that are already comfortable in their living situation. And you'd be surprised that there might be somebody, maybe one or two people at that group that does want to move up and do something better, but we know that there's no resources out there because it's the same thing. It's a repetitive cycle of the same resources that are constantly being delivered to them. So they probably already have it in their state of mind thinking, well, this is as good as it's going to get. So I might as well just accept that this is my living situation and just deal with it. And so what we want to do is we want to provide a sense of hope for these people. We want to help our people exceed to the next level.
So get out of the
yes, get out of that. Especially to the people who have kids in that environment. I see every morning because I live literally on Oliver Avenue where Oliver and River Street meet. So I'm in that ward. So I have to pass by there. And I see the population there. And I see there are people sometimes with their kids in a stroller. And I just think, even before I had my daughter, I'm like, I don't want my kids to be in this. And now that I have my daughter, the reality became 10 times.
During the last housing crisis, there was a ton of families that lost their homes that were in Hesed. And it was real sad. And even being on the school board, we funded people to transportation from hotels and stuff like that when the whole family would be out. So, yeah.
We have another one on Zoom from Marjorie.
Okay.
Marjorie, you want to ask your question?
This is something I spoke with Mr. Velasquez before he passed away on. How would you as mayor work at encouraging people of talent in all fields to stay and work in Aurora, especially those in professional fields like Amanda?
How would I encourage them to stay and work in Aurora?
Right.
Question? Well, so I think a lot of that has to do with what those young people want to do. But some of the ideas that I have, first, actually, I want to talk just a little bit, I want to hit on something. You had talked about people, I'm not ignoring your question, Marjorie, but you had talked about people doing some sweat equity if they're homeless. And one of the things they could do is even build the tiny homes, right?
Exactly, and,
So
I was also looking at it as a way to also bring kids of the community to do it, so they can get like
some skills, right?
engineering skills and stuff, and people have people who are licensed carpentry like yourself and other people who are really willing to add to this project and stuff to help educate the youth and give them some sort of experience or a little bit of taste of carpentry and stuff, and have that idea that if you don't think you can go to school for anything else, at least consider carpentry, because it is a fun thing. Because I was a part of technical theater. I think that was fun. I think that was even funner than going on stage and being an actor. But I don't know. That's just me.
So I want to get back to your question, so I don't be one of those politicians that dodges the tough question from Marjorie. You get that a lot, I know. So number one, Marjorie, you and I have talked about it. I think making Aurora a welcoming city where everybody feels welcome is step one, right? And we want to be inclusive. So like just talking about the homeless situation, including everybody in the discussion, is one way to be inclusive as we map out our future. When we take office, I want to have a big community meeting, goal-setting meeting, and we can talk about how we're serving everybody's interests in this city and making everybody feel like they belong. Number two, there's going to be some jobs that we don't attract. Somebody who really wants a high-end tech job at this point in the game might find themselves more likely to go to Silicon Valley or somewhere like that. But one of the things that I want to do is pursue aggressively is this green building idea, and I think it's going to bring new technology jobs, new construction jobs, living wage jobs, so people who want to live in Aurora can afford to live in Aurora. And the other piece of that that I think is important is this is where the future generations are going to want to live. They're going to want to live with a zero carbon footprint, as low of a carbon footprint as they can have. So we are creating the housing space and doing something very futuristic that young people are going to want to be part of. And so if they're not from Aurora, we're going to attract young people who still want to be part of that. Another thing that we've talked about is growing your own. I know that we work on this in the school board, and the schools are very focused on growing your own with respect to recruiting teachers. So kids that graduate from East or West 204 go down to Illinois State University, become a teacher, and come back and teach in their home schools. Well, it was Ronil who presented this idea in one of these Fireside Chats that we do the same thing with our police officers, which I put out in a video, and even the current mayor adopted that policy too, so we could have a police force that one comes from the community, cares about the community, is part of the community, and is reflective and looks like the community. So this is something that we can do in more fields than just one. I do think that we are going to have to work with the universities to offer some tech training programs. If there's some very basic certifications that if we had our universities were offering those certifications and programs, that there would more likely we would be more likely to attract tech companies to this area, which is where the younger generation is going to find themselves. So those are a few things. I think we need to focus on our base economy first and to address poverty and help lift people out of poverty, have living wage jobs. and create that stable economy. And then I think what I started off with is trying to find a way to make everybody feel welcome and engaged. So I don't want to hog all the time, sorry. And then everybody
Do they want to add anything?
Oh, you guys have any thoughts on that? How do we keep young people here in our city and make them feel like they're part of the city?
I mean, I think what you said about sort of professionals like being reflective of the population is really important. I know for a long time when East High had a service learning requirement, I was actively recruiting service learning students from East, and I had easily a dozen in any placement cycle. And it was wonderful because most of these kids had been told, throughout high school that they would be lucky if they went to Wabansie and not even to bother applying to a four-year college because East doesn't prepare you for a four-year college. And they had had this repeatedly, am I wrong? And so, the idea that I was giving them that not only can you go to a four-year college, but you can become a psychologist, you can become a counselor, you can become a social worker, and you can go to a four-year college, and you can do this job within walking distance of your home. Just absolutely blew their minds, and many of them have gone on. I can't say that any of them have come to practice with me yet because it's early days in terms of their education, but many of them have gone on to four-year colleges and then on to graduate school. I have several students right now who were students of mine at East High or at St. Augustine when I taught there who are going to Northwestern, who are going to different undergraduate programs in mental health, and who I hope will come back and serve, not necessarily in my practice, but start their own practice in the community. I've also, for several years, been sort of bemoaning the lack of mental health interns who are Black males. I have my first right now. And it's thanks to, I don't think Brandy Gilliam is probably on this Zoom right now, but it's thanks to Brandy who put me in touch with some other people who sent me an intern, who actually lives in Plainfield and goes to COD. But I finally, after all these years, have a student who looks like many of my clients. So when my young clients are coming in and maybe they're thinking, wow, this is really cool, I like, counseling, and I am going to grow up and I'm going to be a Black man and maybe I want to do this job, they have somebody now who looks like them. Not that they are becoming or are the same person or have even the same experiences, but it's important to have somebody who looks like you if you're telling a child you could do this someday. So that's what I think would help.
What do you think? Any thoughts?
I agree on
You're
that.
a young person.
You are young.
And I did come from that experience that if the children at home are not being encouraged the way that they're supposed to be encouraged, they're going to eventually go into society having walls put up. They don't think that they are capable of doing this. When I was applying for Wabansie, because that's what I was going to go for it because at the time that's what I could afford and what, I didn't have any savings on my education. So I kept getting criticism from my aunts and uncles asking, are you really going to finish? Are you going to finish? Are you going to finish? Are you sure? Are you positive? I did not finish. It's because I was on my own and like I said, being the backseat, I don't have that support from my family as much as I would like to. The only person who I do have that support from is my father, but unfortunately he's been in Mexico since I was a young child, and it's been hard growing up without him physically being there to shine that positiveness. I mean, he did it through the phone, and maybe that's the reason why I'm still the vibrant person I am, and still continue fighting, and still trying to be the voice of reason, because my father still talks to me over the phone and provides that enlightenment towards me that, it's still possible. But for the people that are one-on-one with their family members that don't get that support, it's just a repetitive cycle. And if you really want to break that chain, you really got to separate yourself from the toxicness and think about your mental health in the long run. Because they want to still be in the same cycle and be okay with what they're doing, doesn't mean you have to conform to what they want. And even though I might be looked at wrong, and people are my family might hate me for speaking on this, but it needs to be said because there's a lot of people, especially young individuals such as myself, who grew up like this, that are constantly being told you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. And when you go into the real world, you try to make those network connections. And then when you try to make it with somebody and then they blow off your friendship or they blow off you in general, it makes you feel like, wow, you really aren't nothing, and it hurts. But I'm just saying, every young person out there knows that you might get that voice that continues telling you you're no good, you're no good, you're no good. Ignore it.
So,
Ignore it the best you can.
so Marjorie, an answer the city I've pushed a lot of is youth services. So there are people who can be positive role models in a person like your life. If you're in a situation, there's probably way more kids like you. So that's one thing the city can do to give our youth positive role models that can offer that love that's missing when it's not in the nuclear family. Back to Rachel for another question.
So we have 3 questions, but 2 of them are similar. So the 2 on Facebook, Shirley wants to know, so the tiny home idea is similar to Habitat for Humanity, where sweat equity is necessary. And Tony Brogner says, how would the city be able to contribute to a tiny home community in practical ways, possibly with a budget and land? So we have 3 questions, but 2 of them are similar.
Okay. So when we started talking about tiny homes, of course, being focused on energy efficiency, I actually designed a tiny home once, and I did it in ultra insulated with solar panels, so it was off the grid. And I think I had budgeted somewhere, this is me building it, somewhere in the neighborhood of $14,000-$15,000. But again, that's on wheels, and if you don't have to pay for the trailer, be a little bit less, and that's of course all volunteer help. So, look, I'm gonna first of all work with the executive director of HESED and people like Echo to see where we want to go. You're going to have to work with the alderman in that area to see physically where this is going to go. Presumably, location-wise, you want to be close to HESED, so some of the other support services are still available. So I would say looking in that geography is the right place. Number 2, I would want them to be ultra energy efficient. Number 3, I think they should absolutely be constructed with a combination of professional, so it meets code, but also we would welcome sweat equity, volunteer help, people that we've talked about, that actually live in the homeless community to be part of the solution and help build those facilities. And the design is one. So when I looked at these around the country, it seemed like they didn't have running water and they didn't have a place to cook or store food. And then there was like a common eating area and a common shower area. But in Illinois, I don't think you can do that because you just can't have somebody get up at 2 in the morning and walk across a snow-filled sidewalk to a bathroom. I think you're going to have at least indoor plumbing in these. So there's going to be a little engineering. So the city's role could be that, the engineering side. Obviously, some funding is going to have to go towards this program, and we can work with a number of grants that are out there. There's been plenty of COVID money, and this money could be funneled into this idea right now if we wanted to. So I hope some of those resources are still available. And if you think about the benefit during COVID is you would all be separate, right? So it would have been pandemic ready. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts to answer Sherry's question. I'm not sure if I got all the points. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that covered it. There was just the other question that Tony had was possibly with the budget, using it in pairs. Did you want to add anything else to budget-wise? Or was that 2 other questions?
Yeah, I think so. We would be pursuing, working with existing budgets, but also trying to see what grants are out there. And the city would probably have to provide some money in this direction.
Okay, so Dan?
Here's a thought for everybody, right? The city just gave away 2 schools to a developer to turn into rental housing, not even affordable rental housing, it's rental housing. And it's given away a number of buildings. And all those could have been used for transitional living as well, had the city managed them or coordinated through HUD. So there's resources out there that are being directed to the private for-profit sector, and we could be using those to address a problem in our community. I'm just saying that's the direction I would go. That's different.
Okay, and then Dan, did you want to unmute and ask your question?
So there's resources out there. Sure, thank you. John, and I was thinking on the terms of your green building plan, that would you also want to have a food sustainability urban forest part to go along with that, to make it easier for people to grow their own food, so that and then also to improve. It just would be a nicer place to live if you had an urban food forest where people could pick their food and save money on groceries, be more environmentally friendly, etc.
So I'm a big advocate. You'll find on my website local food economy, urban farming ideas, not just for the homeless community, but for everybody. I think this is the future and the trend, and it reduces your carbon footprint, reduces the amount of pesticides in the soil, and it's going to create a lot of local jobs. If you think about bringing farming out here. And we had at East Aurora a very exciting teacher who was teaching about food health, and she had a really cool program to have a greenhouse near mutual ground. And her thought was that one, there would be some volunteer help to tend to the garden, so to speak, and it would provide mental health therapy and something positive that people could do and spend time with their kids growing food and harvesting the food. So if that idea never came to fruition, but I know those people exist in our community, and just like we want to bring your idea to life with the tiny homes, we want to bring that idea to life. And there's a number of other people that I've talked to who are very excited about this idea of urban farming and local food economy.
Okay, Clarissa on Facebook says, thank you for having these chats. I've learned a lot from them. Every election year, Aurora citizens hear a lot of promises, but they end up being empty promises. Homelessness and mental issues have been an ongoing struggle for Aurora. Why haven't you been involved previously, or have you?
In mental health issues?
In homelessness.
Oh. So I've come down to Hesed and volunteered with various organizations over the years. I most recently was about a year pre-pandemic, about a year and a half. Year. It was last November. Yeah, November. So a little over a year ago. I have also participated. It's been a while for that too, with Habitat and building houses. But the reality is, most of my volunteer carpentry work happens in my own neighborhood without an organization. It's just a neighbor knocking on the door and they're going to do what I can.
Okay, and then I'll open it up to you guys. What would you like to see your elected officials do when it comes to mental health and homelessness? What would you prefer to see differently?
I mean, John already did the thing that I've always wanted officials to do that they don't. He came to my office. He came and saw the work. I said, come to my office. He came to my office. It sounds very simple, but you would not believe how difficult it is for me. You know, very few people sort of come down off of their throne and come onto the ground level and just see what's happening kind of in real time, and it meant a lot to me. You know, one exception to that would be our police chief. She has come multiple years to talk to my interns, and I'm so grateful to her for that. But it's very difficult. And so that in and of itself means so much to me. It means so much to me that you know, he lives here in the neighborhood, and I'm assuming that he'll stay. Yes, exactly.
I have this beautiful fireplace. We're
Yes.
going to keep having Fireside Chat.
Yes. So for me, it's very simple. Look at the visibility, I think, is an endorsement in and of itself. If you sort of dare to set foot rather than sort of throwing a check at something and then coming home where it's safe, that means a lot to me.
It's a matter of distancing people.
Yes, exactly.
I just have a beautiful fireplace.
We're
going to keep
I know,
having
you
Fireside Chat.
recliners.
Yes.
So for me, it's very simple.
Especially the people who aren't always in the limelight, always in the public eye. You know, sometimes background people are the biggest roles in the play and whatnot. You know, you gotta consider every part, and not just the main character. And that's how I see it. You know, I'm out there. I work with various people's campaigns. I've done, you know, a whole bunch of stuff for a whole bunch of people, but you know, no one's really sat down and said, Maria, what is it that you would like to see? What is it that you want to do? You know, and when I tried to approach John with the idea, I was kind of nervous because I didn't know what to expect because it seems to be the same old tune that's always being played, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it because I know I ran it by to a couple other people before him, and I didn't really feel like I got much hold on it. But he took the time, listened to my ideas, and just gave it this in a year, which I know sometimes it's hard to do because if you got so much to do and you got it on your plate, but it means the world to the people that you are at least considering 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes of your busy schedule just to listen to this person and to be considerate of the fact that they put their time and energy and put stuff on their schedule, their own agendas, although it may not be as busy as yours, to think about this and is willing to overcome their fears and their walls and present this idea to you, you know. For somebody like myself, who's always the background person, who I can't believe I'm actually talking perfectly right now, because I was going to be,
So we have a couple of comments. Prophet Teens on Instagram says he agreed with you that college isn't always encouraged, and if we push that as a narrative, even to start at Wavanti Community College, that would be a first step. Zabat says great job, we're rooting for you, and then Tam followed up with they finished Iconics, which is the cargo containers, without a bathroom for about $4,800, including the price of the comics. So we have about 12 minutes left. We have some fun questions, I guess, to ask you guys. If the audience wants to keep asking questions, please do. We'll take questions up until 8 o'clock. You can follow along John on any of the social media platforms at johnforaurora.com. Okay, so the next question I have here is...
I want to just ask if Arlissa wanted to chime in. I know you got another Zoom going on. If you had something to add, I wanted to give you the opportunity in the floor. And then I wanted to go back real quick with Clarissa and just say, this is the idea that I'm bringing. It's not my idea, it's your idea. But, you know, look, the council's going to have to agree. The people that are currently working within the invested administration, we're going to have to get everybody on board to carry this idea out. So I want to make sure that as it, you know, becomes a promise, I'm not going to come in forcing people to evolve. I think we need to bring the resources together and find a way to move in this direction, because I think it's safer, especially for women. It's potential transitional housing and affordable path out, like you said. And it's going to come with some conflict, because I've read about these tiny home communities and people sometimes are like, oh, well, we'll just have these old rickety houses in our community. But Aurora had all those. They're called war homes. I worked in them. When people came back from war, they were taking this scrap lumber from construction homes and tacking it together and you know, turning it into a living space. And in fact, Tam knows this because that's the kind of house we tore down and rebuilt your new one. So, but anyway, I'll open the floor to anybody else. I just wanted to make sure I was.
Alyssa is unmuted.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Alyssa, are you ready? Did you have something to add?
Oh, yes. Good evening, everyone. I am just excited to be here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Laesch, for inviting me A lot of good information that I'm listening into. And so I'm just, excited. This is one of the passions of ECHO. We do have a homeless prevention program. So we are looking for, more resources, more individual expertise as we see here tonight. Miss Amanda, hello Maria, my good friend. I worked with her some years ago. So one of the things that ECHO mission is to enhance the positive growth of our communities. We're providing social, economic, health, and educational services to promote, services to designed to stimulate and growth and improvement of quality life of our community. We did last year, before 2020, we were involved with individuals from the Hazard. Last July, we met a group of individuals that were staying over under the bridge. And so we got more and more passionate about working with our homeless communities. And the reason why they were there under the bridge because the inability of them to be able to deal with the rules at Hazard. So still today, we are working with, we had actually 20 individuals that we did assessments with. We partnered and collaborated with Amanda so that they could get the therapy, substance abuse therapy, regular counseling. Right now, we only have 5 individuals that we still keep in touch with every day, actually. So we have Ms. Conkle goes with me on Tuesdays, so we make sure that they have food during the week. And I think, as you guys said, mental health is one of the biggest issues. And so ECHO, one of the things ECHO is doing right now, we are working with a program that would allow us to work with the state. I'm sorry, I'm not real good at a lot of talking, but to work with the state to provide a mental health program, counseling. Also, we have an individual on our advisory board who's licensed in alcohol and drug prevention. So she will be working with them. So we are implementing a program for mental health, as we did for our bullying program. We started our bullying program for our youth back in 2017. We had a coordinator counselor that would come in and teach skills of conflict resolution, teach our children how to conquer being victims of bullying. And so that's one of our things. We want to continue to work in the community. We want to continue to work with individuals like you guys here tonight. One of the biggest issues is that we don't have the resources, we don't have the finances. So we are looking for different avenues to, get support and get help. So we do have 3 individuals right now that is working with therapists over at Amita through our program. We have some success stories. We have 2 individuals, that was under the tent that is now working because we did the job placement program, things of that sort. So we are familiar with what is going on in our home, in our homeless community, and we want to, see them to be able to transition from this place that they're in to a better quality of life. And so I was so glad that Mr. Laesch had invited me on tonight. I'm not out there too much now in the trenches, but our board of directors are really out there trying to work with individuals that are in need right now, that needs mental health. One of the things that we were doing that we couldn't keep up, and so we were placing individuals into hotels. They didn't have anywhere to go due to the weather. It's cold outside, so of course they couldn't stay under the bridge. And so we have individuals that we place in hotels. That money ran out. We have individuals right now that are staying with friends or family, sleeping on couches, floors. But we want to be able to make sure that they are getting the services that they need as far as mental health. So Amanda, I definitely want to reach out. We definitely want to reach out to you. And we still have our site at 218 East Benton, but we're getting ready to move in 3 weeks into our business office, where we'll be taking intakes, doing new assessments and intakes. And we would like, you to help with that. If you can, we can get some information from you. You can work with us. So that would be great. So that is definitely one of our passions. Actually, I met with 3 of our homeless individuals today. So a lot of them don't want people to know where they are, but we are still still work with them, making sure every week that they have food, that they have the proper clothing. I would just like to thank you, John, because this is one that touched my heart. You know, this program is one, we have a lot of programs, but this is one definitely, you know, that we want to stay on top of. So we will be trying to make sure that we can provide them with the services that they need, especially, you know, therapy, substance abuse therapy and things of that sort. So.
Okay, well, thanks for being on. You know, Arlissa and I did some math. We were on the phone earlier. They've been putting people up in hotels who are homeless, and I think the cost you said was about $75 a night.
Right.
Over the course of a year, that's roughly $27,000. So the unplumbed Connex tiny home is $4,500. And if you wanted to upgrade and have plumbing, you might be in that range of $15,000, $20,000. So you could put somebody up in a tiny home or a hotel room for the course of a year, but then that tiny home's there for the duration of its life cycle. So to me, it seems like that's a better investment. And there was a lot of money in the CARES Act for putting people up in hotel rooms, which actually have a ventilation system sometimes that's tied into the whole building and isn't really a COVID-safe environment anyway. So depending on how the ventilation system and that structure is.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left, so we'll ask a couple of these final questions. I don't know if
Okay,
fun. Okay. Just so you give the audience just a better idea of how you guys think and feel. So it says, what have you witnessed that has strengthened your faith in humanity?
Really a COVID-safe.
So we'll ask a couple of these final questions.
I'll go first. All the people that have come together on this campaign and been supportive of both the ideas.
So it says, what have you
my
witnessed
candidacy.
that has strengthened your faith in humanity?
Yeah, I would say my volunteers and my friends every day and my students and pretty much everybody that comes to the office just keeps me going. I'm so fortunate. I mean, Natalie, she's still on this call. She showed up at my office earlier today and she said, "Do you want Panera?" I was like, "I'm starving. I don't even have time to go to the bathroom." And she brought us some adult hygiene products for our clients, and I just feel so lucky. So I think when it starts to flag, I think this community is so good at taking care of each other.
Coming together,
exactly. So I can't complain. "Do you want Panera?" I was like, "I'm starving. I don't even have time to go to the bathroom." And she brought us some
was the fact that, my daughter. Yeah, as cliche as that might sound, but it is true. My daughter is the one that is my inspiration to keep a focused mind, keep a positive outlook on it, to continue fighting, overcome your fears, try to be that advocacy for other people, because as somebody who has worked for multiple bus companies in the past, the last bus company I worked for, I know I picked up some students that were living at the head house, and I seen it was difficult for them, and for somebody who can relate at the same time, because around their time, when they were experiencing this homelessness, I was too, and I was in my mid-20s. So for me, coming from that, and knowing these people went to East, and I'm like, who's really advocating for them? Who's really speaking up on that notation? Because these kids having to grow up so fast is not fair, because they have to think about conscientious decisions. They have to think about survival instead of living their life and exploring the world and having experiences and adding culture to their experience and whatnot. Instead of traveling, these kids who are at the peasant house, they're not thinking about traveling. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about getting a job. They're thinking about trying to have a place to stay or steady income or something like that. They're thinking about adult things that, for me, that's what happened. A lot of people in my peers are successful with their careers, and they've had so much tremendous help, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but they're fortunate. They're fortunate to have that strong backbone, especially at home and then throughout the community. People giving them the same amount. I mean, they don't know no pain. They don't know the hurdles it takes to get through life. And, I just want to let people know, especially those who feel like that it's never going to happen. It will. It's just the moment you decide. The thing that made me get out of it also was me volunteering and me wanting to be a part of various campaigns and being something that that meant a lot. And me continue to keep my network up and continue to be trying to keep that positive notation to want to provide a better future for my child is what is keeping me alive today. And a lot of people don't have that, but
So on that same note then, the next question is, what does this world need more of? Who wants to go first?
Love.
Volunteering.
Compassion.
All right, and our last question is, who are your heroes?
Oh my gosh. Well, I say my daughter too when you were talking about that. I'm like, yes, she was the reason I moved to East Aurora in the first place. But yeah, my daughter and my husband, he's over here off the radar. My daughter too when you were talking about that. I'm like, yes, she was the reason I moved to East Aurora.
Who are your heroes?
My heroes.
But yeah, my daughter and my husband.
Well, first off, my father, because even though he was deported and taken away from me when I was very young, he still kept up that parental role from afar. And writing letters to me, keeping in contact with me through the phone. Even if he didn't have his own personal phone, he'll find a way to get to a phone and call me. And if I miss the phone call, he'll call me back like at least 7 times in a row before I pick him up. But the fact that he still calls me every day and he writes letters to me almost every single day and writes these scriptures from the Bible and everything and constantly letting me know, like, Maria, I know you're going through this and I know I can't be there to help you out financially, but God will have you. You just gotta think that God is there for you. Don't question him. Do not negate away from that. Do not think that he's not there. And I understand that it hurts because you want to know why you're going through what you're going through, but there's always a reason why. And to always talk to God. Talk to him. You don't have to pray. Just talk to him. And he will see you through it. And for me, that is a lot. There's a lot of people, especially fathers and individuals who have been supported by father that don't keep up their parents, that don't keep up that communication with their kids and whatnot. They call me once in a while, what have you, whatnot. But my dad, he's the type of person I call every single day. And to me, that is an inspiration because without him instilling some positive influences to my head and keep repeating the same thing over and over again, even though it was annoying, but it worked because when I was getting negative thoughts and energy towards me here, I would always go back and think about my conversation I had with my father. So my daughter and my father are my two inspirations.
So before, John, you answer, I want to remind everyone that the election is on April 6th. Early voting in Kendall, Will, and DuPage starts on February 25th. And early voting in Kane County, because you currently have a primary going, doesn't begin until March 12th. Okay, John, who's your hero?
they both, and johnforaurora.com is our website, right? So sign up to volunteer, take a yard sign, donate, johnforaurora.com.
Okay, John, who's your hero?
You guys mentioned living heroes. Lincoln's dead. Rachel Ventura is a badass.
Yeah, she really is.
Full-time single mom of 2 daughters, running this campaign full-time, serving on a Will County board full-time. Rachel Ventura is a badass. Another job.
Yeah, she really is. Stick with Lincoln.
All right,
full-time.
Before we leave tonight, I would like to say, this is Miss Dockery. I would like to say you all inspire me. So you all are my heroes, definitely. And that gives us actually the courage to continue to get out there in the community, as Maria said, to encourage individuals who need it, send scriptures. We do that as well. So we want to just encourage you all to keep doing what you do in the community. Help pray for us as we're out there in the community, because definitely we're out there in those trenches every day, with different programs. that we have. We have a senior program that we serve about 200 seniors. We serve 200 seniors. We have our e-learning program. We have 12 students. We have our homeless prevention program. So, due to COVID, things have been difficult, but we're still out there. Like I said, we weren't able to keep individuals in the hotel because of the amount of resources. And, it's kind of hard. So we are reaching out, looking for different ways to find resources. I wanted to shout out to Ms. Luna Webster, individual Aurora. They set up a campaign for ECHO back here in the fall to help us purchase our first shelter home. So we were looking to have a transitional or either shelter home. That campaign raised $474, which is still sitting in the campaign, the $474. We didn't even use it for the hotel fees. So just know that a lot of the money did come from the pockets of the members of ECHO board. We did find a couple cheaper hotels toward Naperville, which the people were so they was familiar with us, and so they did start giving us discounts. But at this point, we can't keep people in hotels, but we still are servicing them. So if any type of way you guys want to support ECHO Development Center, go to our website, see the services that we render, what we do. You can donate there, or you can donate at our Cash App at Hope the ECHO Group. We just want to encourage you to keep moving. I want to get a chance to meet some of you guys individually. We can sit down and talk and come up with ways that we can work together to collaborate for our community, especially our homeless community. And we love you. Thank you, John, so much for inviting us tonight.
Thanks